All right, today I'm going to talk a little bit about communism. What is communism? Definition of communism in the Webster Dictionary is pretty simple. The truth is very simple. A theory advocating elimination of private property. A system in which goods are owned in common and are available to all as needed. Now that's a question we need to ask ourselves. Who determines as needed? Okay? When you look at Wikipedia, oh good old Wicca, when you look at what a communist state is, communist state sometimes refers as the worker state, a state that is usually administered and governed by a single party representing and guided by Marxism. What is Marxism? Marxism has some commonalities with probably words you're familiar with today. Let's look at a couple of them. So one, we're going to look at socialism. Socialism is a word very entangled with communism. Socialism is basically an idea that people believe works. Of course, you can't see a single country of which socialism actually works, and the people and the citizens there are actually happy. Socialism is where the state, okay, let's say for example, the United States is considered a state, okay? If you had a communist leader as a president of this United States, the Constitution would hold no bearing, okay, because communism doesn't believe the values of the Constitution. So let's say we had a communist president, okay? A communist president would basically be the one to dictate who gets what. So they would distribute the needs according to what they feel that you need. So if you needed a car, they would give you a car. What kind of car? It's up to them. They would give you food. What kind of food? It's up to them. They would give you housing. What kind of housing? It's up to them. The whole point of communism is that all property is equally divided amongst everybody. Communism also talks about wealth distribution. That is how you get communism, is through wealth distribution. Wealth distribution is that the people who make more money, that money is taken away from them and given to the people who don't make quite as much money. That's called wealth inequality or wealth distribution. Now there is a political party in power today that believes the same principles. It's the Democratic Party. They believe in the same principles. You hear them talk about wealth inequality or income distribution. They believe that the government should decide who makes what kind of money. You have to ask yourself, is that fair? Is that really where we want to go? A lot of people like the American dream. The American dream means that you can have your own slice of the pie, right? So if you want to go out and have a house, you can go and look for the house that you want to buy. You can go buy the car that you want to buy. Communism is not going to be like that, and neither is the Democrat Party's desire to income distribute wealth, okay? They want to make sure that the rich people give their money to the poor people, but it's not like the rich people give you a $100,000 check and say, here, do with it what you want. That's not how it works. The people who are in power of distributing that money get to decide how much money they're going to give you. But they're not going to give you any money. What they're going to give you is what they feel like you need. Do you need a house? Well, we're going to say let's say you have 5 kids, right? You need a 5-bedroom house. Well, maybe you need the 5-bedroom house and you need a 3-car garage. Do you think that they're going to just give you a big, huge mansion with a 5-car garage? I mean, if they do, they're doing pretty good, right? You can say, wow, cool, communism works. But nowhere in our history has there been a situation where the government who distributes these necessities distributes them based upon what the person wants. They distribute it that way they want, okay? So the government is in control of what your necessities are. That's fairly scary. So then you look at the Constitution. What does the Constitution say? The Constitution says everybody has a right to liberty and the pursuit of happiness, right? We all have a right to pursue the things that we want. Communism isn't going to work that way. Communism not going to let you pursue what you want to pursue. They're going to give you a stake of land. They're going to give you your own car. They're going to give you a place in a certain location. And they're going to give you the food that they want to give you. Venezuela's communist, the Soviet Union's communist. These places have horrible economies because no one actually has to work because they're all given stuff. No ingenuity is coming out of these places. If we didn't have capitalism in this country, which is I give you a service and you give me money, right? Or barter, you can barter the same kind of way. Capitalism is why we have the iPhone. It's why we have the iPad. If we were a communist society, we wouldn't have those things because capitalism is what spawns innovation. When you give a service and that service wasn't good enough, you're going to call the customer service people and say, hey, I don't like the way you guys are doing business. What causes the company to want to do better and want to reach more? Now, does it ever happen in the DMV? You were going to the DMV and have horrible customer service, and you call them up on the phone and say, your customer service is horrible. Have they ever changed their ways because you called and complained about it? No. Will they ever call, or will they ever change? No. They don't need to because they're in control. So you gotta ask yourself, who do I want to be in control of me and my destiny? Do I want a communist society or a government to be in control of my destiny? Or do I want what the Constitution says, which is that I have the right to find my own house, to buy my own car, to do the things that I want to do? Now, maybe I won't make as much money as these billionaires. But you gotta understand, these billionaires, they have a lot of responsibility, a lot of stress. And when you get into that society and that caliber, you have a lot of things that, sure, you may be able to do, but you're paying a lot in price of whether or not you're really, truly happy. Most rich people are not happy. They're not happy. So you don't want greed to navigate your political ideology. You don't want to say, oh, because they have something and I don't, I want what they have. You don't want that to guide your political philosophy. That kind of greed, that kind of envy makes people do very, very, very poor choices. Very poor choices. So what you want to do is just sit back and be logical about everything. When you're listening to the media and the news, now, you hear them say all kinds of things, right? You have to take what they say with a grain of salt. You have to really look at it and say, is this logical? Is this real? Is what they're telling me the truth? You don't want to just believe anything that anybody tells you, because there are a lot of people out there with their own agenda. They like to be in power. Power brings a lot of glory to them, and that's what they appreciate. So you have to realize that we in this country, we have the Constitution backing us up as individuals. Individual freedoms, individual liberties, and it's extremely important. If you want to make a career in photography, well, you have the right to pursue that. Now, if you were in a communist society and you wanted to do photography, they could tell you no. So you have to say to yourself, do I want Democrats to be in power? Because they're the ones who's talking about income inequality. They're the ones that talk about class warfare. There's another, Karl Marx and Saul Alinsky wrote a book, and you can look it up online, wrote a book, and in the book he talks about how to create a communist society. The book he wrote was called Rules for Radicals. Saul Alinsky, who Barack Obama really appreciated and learned from, Saul Alinsky was an American community organizer, just like Barack Obama. He generally considered to be the founder of community organizing, okay? So these are the things that he taught. He taught in this book, Rule for Radicals. A goal for Rules for Radicals was to create a guide for future community organizers, quote, community organizers to use in uniting low-income communities, or have-nots. That's actually what's in his book, have-nots, in order to gain them for social, political, legal, and economic power. So this guy wrote a book on how to win poor people so that they would be the driving force of his political thinking, okay? Saul Alinsky was a communist. He was proud to admit it too. He didn't hide behind any facades. Now, from this point on in my blogging here, I am no longer going to refer to a Democrat as a Democrat, because Democrats of today are not conservatism in anything. They are absolutely communists. Now, they hide behind the word Democrat because it sounds good, and plus they don't want people to catch on to what they really, really are. Because if people looked at a Democrat as a communist, I mean, it's already got a stigma, the word communism. You think of Soviet Union, you think of Berlin Wall, you think of Reagan saying, tear down that wall, because the wall was built to keep all of its citizens inside. That's what the wall was for. So the Berlin Wall, the reason why Reagan wanted to tear it down is because he realized that none of the citizens could get out of the Soviet Union. None of them can get out. The government made them stay in a bubble. The government fed them, the government clothed them, the government housed them, but they didn't house them very well at all. They gave them what they thought they needed. So Reagan protested. He says, enough of this. Tear down the wall. Your citizens have got to be free. What you're doing is horribly corrupt. What you're doing is tearing down the lives of ordinary citizens and forcing them into a bubble. Saul Alinsky was a big advocator for this kind of thinking and for this kind of rule. It is no doubt that Barack Obama learned from him, but Barack Obama loved his ideology, and Barack Obama lived a lot of his principles. Some of the principles he talks about is wealth distribution, right? Giving from the rich to the poor. Okay, the government decides who gets the money. It's not money, and they're going to give you stuff, right? They're going to take that money and they're going to divide it up into stuff that they think that you need. Not what you want, but what they think you need. That's the main difference. When you hear people, especially Democrat communists, talking about wealth inequality, that oh, these 1%ers make so much money and the rest of us are poor and college tuition should be free, you got to understand that what they're trying to say is they want to make it inviting. They want you to really love that, yeah, you're right. These dickhead people who make more money than me, they don't deserve that money. I need some of that money. That cannot be your driving force for a society in which we live and we all want to be free, okay? Yes, it's hard to go out and work for a living. It's hard. It's very hard, but it's supposed to be that way. If we're all given stuff and we're just given what other people say that we need, we're going to be miserable. I mean, more miserable than we are now. I mean, you may get a paycheck, but you're not going to be happy. Even the paycheck you get, you're only going to get a certain amount. And they're going to give it based upon what they think you need. So that's what this is all boiling down to. I'm trying to allow the millennials to understand these words that the Democrat communists are throwing out there, like free college tuition. It sounds great. It sounds wonderful. Free, yeah, it should be free, right? But when was anything in your life that was easily gotten worth the risks? There was no risk, right? There was no risk. I mean, if it was easily gotten, there was no risk. Did you really appreciate it? Did you really appreciate the free gift? Most of us would say no. I mean, I didn't have to work for it. I was just given it, like a car, a brand new car. I'm very much against parents giving their daughter or son a brand new spanking car when they get out of high school or when they get their driver's license, because it does not put in a feeling of gratification knowing that you earned it. That feeling cannot be replaced by giving. You can't give somebody gratification. People have to earn gratification. So a lot of this stuff that we're talking about today is about how to live your life in this free society, in this free market, without being brainwashed by what other people think you need to believe in. Okay? Communist Democrats do believe that college tuition should be free, but there is no such thing as college tuition being free. You got to understand a couple of things about Democrats, okay? They've been in power for many, 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 many years, many decades. There are more Democrat communist teachers, professors in colleges. You got Chicago, you got Harvard, all the big Ivy League schools are all owned by communists, okay? All of these people are the ones that, if you're going to their school, they're the ones that set the rate of the college tuition, okay? They set the rate. So why is it that they don't lower the cost of college tuition on their own? If Democrats are so good for America, if their ideas are so wonderful, why is it that they go, you know what, let's just lower college tuition. These people need a help. Let's help them out. No, no, no. What they're going to do is say, they're not trying to help you understand the link. They're not trying to share with you that the Democrat Party and professors at all these colleges, these high Ivy League colleges, and some that are not even Ivy League colleges, some are just, well-known colleges. They're not trying to share the link between the two, that this party is the same as this party, that the professors in the colleges are the same as the Democrat Party in power in the Senate or in the mayor office, or they're not going to tell you the link between the two. They're not going to tell you that they're both on the same playing field. Because if they were to tell you that, then you would be asking the logical question. The logical question would be, well, how come if they're Democrats that are in the colleges, how come they don't just lower the cost of tuition? Because that's what their political parties are saying. The parties are saying, well, this should be controlled by the government. So what they're trying to tell you is that if you get them in power, they will give you free college tuition, right? That means that the schools that set the rates will lower them as long as you put them in power, okay? But the question is going to be this: for how long are they going to lower that? How long are they going to give you free tuition? How long is that going to last? Because the colleges still have to make money, right? They got to make money from somewhere. So where are they going to make that money? How are they going to be able to give you something for free and you not give them anything? How for example, if I was to make hamburgers, right? And there was a new law that said I had to give away all my hamburgers, right? Well, eventually I'd run out of hamburgers and I'd need to buy more. Now, normally, you pay me for some hamburgers, I make a little bit of profit, put it in the savings fund, feed my family. And the other part of that money I put back into getting more hamburgers. And that's how it works. That's how capitalism works, So you keep doing this, a little bit for me, I get to make more, other people are happy, it's a great service, the community is loving my hamburgers, it's a great thing. The way a college tuition is, they set the standards of how much it is to get into college for a lot of different reasons. One is because of the prestige. So you're paying the college for the prestige of being at that college. Another one is because they have to turn the lights on. They got to pay for the electricity and the water and the air conditioning, right? They got to pay for that stuff. Other than that, they got to pay their professors. They got to pay their college professors. So they're not going to teach for free, right? So why aren't we just asking the simple question? Why does the government have to be the one to dictate that the colleges lower their tuition? If they're owned by professors who are communist Democrats, why don't they do and take upon themselves to lower that themselves? Why don't teachers work for free? If they worked for free, then you wouldn't have to pay anything for it, right? Because they don't need your money, they're working for free. You got to understand that what's really going on here, okay? What is really, really going on here. So always keep in mind, the truth is simple. I'll talk to you next week.